May 7, 1915, 9:45 a.m. Southern approaches to Ireland. The Atlantic churns, a canvas of gray and unrest. Wisps of fog, like ethereal curtains, drift across the water's surface, intermittently pierced by sunlight that glints like polished steel. The RMS Lusitania, a grand passenger liner, forges ahead at 18 knots, a reduced speed dictated by wartime coal conservation efforts, far below her usual 25. A gentle southwestern breeze whispers across the deck as visibility becomes a treacherous game of hide and seek with the shifting mist. On the bridge, Captain William Turner scans the horizon, his gaze unwavering. He carries Admiralty orders, directives both clear and frustratingly ambiguous. Evade submarines, navigate a zigzag course when feasible, and hug the Irish coastline. Yet, he understands the peril that lies beneath the waves. German U-boats prowl beyond the relative safety of the continental shelf, particularly U-20, helmed by Captain Lieutenant Walter Schwieger, recently reported near the old Hedekin sail. Turner lowers his binoculars, finding nothing but the relentless hiss of the ocean. No telltale periscopes. No revealing torpedo trails. Life continues below, blissfully unaware of the looming threat. Children playfully dart around the promenade, their laughter echoing in the salty air. A passenger engrossed in a letter from his wife. An American couple captivated by a postcard depicting the iconic New York harbor. Photographers stroll with cameras in hand, capturing memories. Luggage bumps softly against cabin walls. The war feels distant, a world away. However, warnings have been issued. On the very morning of departure, the German authorities strategically placed an advertisement in several American newspapers, a stark advisory that all vessels entering the war zone surrounding Britain risk being sunk. The chilling notice appeared directly beneath the Lusitania's sailing schedule. Some passengers were understandably unnerved. Others dismissed it as mere propaganda, a tactic of fear. Still others, with a sense of foreboding, carefully folded the newspaper, tucking it away in their coat pockets, as if preserving a grim premonition. At 10:10 a.m., a new wireless message crackles to life, delivering a chilling update to Turner. Submarines active in your area. Exercise utmost caution. He responds with a minor course adjustment, shifting from 190 degrees to 175. The fog deepens, enveloping the ship in an even thicker shroud. He considers increasing speed but hesitates. Coal reserves are dwindling, and the Admiralty's instructions offer conflicting advice. Some communications advocating for maximum speed, others cautioning about fuel shortages. His eyes search the mist once more. Far below, within the cold, steel belly of U-20, Schwieger meticulously calculates his own trajectory. The submarine glides at approximately 9 knots on the surface, prioritizing battery conservation. The air within is thick with the acrid scent of diesel and metal. Condensation forms on the overhead pipes, dripping persistently. The crew whispers, beads of sweat glistening on their brows. U-20 is armed with 6 torpedoes, each packing a warhead of roughly 200-pound explosives, capable of striking a target within a range of 2,000 meters. Shortly after noon, Schwieger spots it. Smoke on the horizon, thick and dark, undeniably emanating from a large vessel. He pivots the periscope slightly, his eyes fixed. A 4-funnel liner. Colossal, headed east-northeast. He needs no charts, no identifier markers. He knows it instantly. Lusitania. The quiet order is given. Prepare torpedo tube 1. Inside the liner, a steward passing cabin B. 25 pauses as a small boy clutches a photograph. The child asks if Ireland is near. The steward smiles reassuringly. Just a few more hours, he replies, unaware of the tragic truth. On the bridge, Turner initiates a final, subtle zigzag maneuver, a mere 2-degree alteration. The fog momentarily dissipates, revealing a single, unbroken expanse of cold, silver sea. And in the periscope's lens of U-20, the crosshairs lock into place. Schwieger inhales deeply and whispers a fatal command. Fewer, May 7, 1915, 2:10 p.m. Off the old Hedekin sail. The torpedo slams into the Lusitania just beneath the bridge on the starboard side. Crew members later pinpoint the impact near frame 160. A violent tremor rips through the ship, felt by every soul aboard. Plates shatter. Glass explodes. Steam pipes scream. The liner convulses as if struck by an unseen giant. A geyser of water erupts skyward, reaching an estimated 40 to 50 feet. Then, a second explosion, larger, deeper, more devastating. The definitive cause remains a subject of debate to this day. Boiler rupture, the ignition of coal dust, the possible presence of munitions, a theory disputed by some sources, or a catastrophic structural failure. Turner grips the railing, his knuckles white, as the deck lists sharply. He understands the grim reality immediately. The list is critical, far beyond manageable limits. Water floods the starboard compartments at an alarming rate, outpacing the ship's pumps. The Lusitania begins its fatal roll. Passengers erupt from their cabins in a wave of panic. Mothers desperately cling to their children. Men shout commands, their voices laced with fear. Officers frankly blow whistles, attempting to restore order amidst the chaos. The ship's formidable 6-inch guns, never installed due to her never being converted into an armed merchant cruiser, remain nothing more than chalk outlines on design blueprints, useless symbols of protection. A young woman, forward on the deck, clutches a seawater-stained letter from her fiancé. An elderly man, positioned on the port side, attempts to document the unfolding disaster, but loses his camera to the sea's unforgiving grasp. A crewman's desperate cry pierces the air. Lower the boats! But the rapidly increasing list, now at 15 degrees, then 20, renders the task nearly impossible. Lifeboats on the starboard side dangle precariously high above the water, their davits jammed, unable to release. On the port side, some lifeboats smash violently against the hull, ejecting passengers into the unforgiving waves. By 2:12 p.m., a mere 2 minutes after the initial impact, seawater breaches the boiler rooms. Several furnaces are instantly extinguished. Engineers are thrown off their feet as scalding steam surges through ruptured pipes. Above, Turner issues a desperate command. Full port helm, in a final attempt to beach the sinking ship on the Irish coast, approximately 12 miles distant. But the Lusitania is succumbing too quickly. In the water, fuel oil spreads like a dark, iridescent shroud. Bodies bob, lifeless. Survivors desperately cling to floating wreckage. The sea temperature hovers around a frigid 12 degrees Celsius, cold enough to sap strength and endurance within minutes. On you, 20. Schwieger observes the scene through periscope. He notes in his log, with chilling detachment, great panic must have broken out on board. He refrains from firing a second torpedo. The scene, even to him, is overwhelming in its tragedy. At 2:15 p.m., 3 lifeboats capsize in rapid succession. Their occupants plunge into the icy depths. Screams echo across the waves, a symphony of despair. A whistle emits a series of shrill, desperate blasts. A sailor shouts instructions for passengers to jump from the port side only. Turner remains steadfast on the bridge, refusing to abandon his post. The deck continues its relentless tilt, 25 degrees, then 30. Water surges into the grand staircase, transforming it into a deadly cascade. Pianos, tables, suitcases slide uncontrollably across the floors, creating a scene of surreal destruction. A mother, in a desperate act of love, throws her child into a lowering lifeboat. The rope slips. The boat plunges unevenly, slamming against the hull. Timber splinters. The child's scream is lost amidst the chaos. Within a mere 12 to 15 minutes, the bow is almost completely submerged. The stern rises, a stark monument to the ship's demise. Survivors later recount seeing the propellers ascend into the air, glistening with seawater. Crewmen utter desperate prayers. Passengers clutch railings, their faces etched with terror. A single, drawn-out, mournful groan of twisting steel reverberates through the fog. At 2:28 p.m., just 18 minutes after the torpedo struck, Lusitania rolls onto her starboard side and disappears beneath the surface. Silence descends, broken only by the lapping of waves and the faint, Fading cries carried across the water. May 7th, 1915, 3:40 p.m. The sea above the wreck. The fog begins to lift slightly, revealing a scene of heartbreaking devastation. Debris litters the surface. Chairs, luggage, broken planks, life vests, testament to the lives lost. Survivors cling desperately to floating wreckage, their faces etched with shock. Many are silent, numb. Others call out names, their voices hoarse with grief. Oil slicks their faces and clothes, a dark stain on their ordeal. Fishing boats from Ireland are the first to arrive, answering the desperate call for help. Sailors haul survivors aboard, men trembling uncontrollably, women unconscious from hypothermia, children barely clinging to life. The vessels return repeatedly, braving worsening sea conditions in their relentless pursuit of rescue. When the final count is tallied, the magnitude of the tragedy becomes undeniably clear. 1,962 people on board, 1,198 dead, including 128 Americans. The survival rate for children is tragically low. Only 6 survive out of 33. The world reacts with immediate and profound shock. In New York, crowds gather outside the Cunard Line offices, demanding answers, seeking information about loved ones. Photographs of missing passengers, creased and water-stained, are displayed on walls, a poignant memorial to those lost. Newspapers issue special editions, their headlines screaming murder on the high seas and a crime against humanity. In Berlin, reactions are divided. Some newspapers celebrate Schwieger's actions. Others condemn the attack as strategically unnecessary, a grievous error. According to some sources, German leadership is taken aback by the sheer number of civilian casualties. The Kaiser's advisors debate the future of unrestricted submarine warfare, weighing whether to adjust its application or defend it more aggressively. In Washington, President Woodrow Wilson faces immense pressure. The U.S. remains officially neutral, yet the national sentiment undergoes a dramatic shift. Senators deliver impassioned speeches. Editorials demand war. Peace groups urge caution, advocating for continued neutrality. Wilson ultimately chooses a middle ground, issuing a stern diplomatic protest demanding that Germany cease attacks on passenger ships. Germany responds with limited concessions but defends the attack, arguing that the Lusitania was carrying munitions. Some sources corroborate the presence of limited cargo. Others dispute its military significance. Captain Turner, rescued after hours in the frigid water, endures an agonizing inquiry. He sits before a British tribunal, his shoulders visibly trembling, meticulously recounting every decision. Speed, course changes, fog conditions, wireless warnings. He is ultimately exonerated, though the shadow of the disaster follows him for the rest of his days. Schwieger's logbook circulates among Allied intelligence, its cold, unemotional entries fueling outrage and resentment. Posters appear across Britain and America bearing a simple, powerful message. Remember the Lusitania. Strategically, the sinking reshapes the global landscape, becoming a turning point in public opinion, a weight steadily pushing the U.S. toward intervention in the war. Though America does not formally declare war for nearly 2 more years, the Lusitania becomes the emotional linchpin of interventionist arguments. Naval doctrine is also profoundly affected. Admiralties meticulously analyze the disaster, flooding rates, hull integrity, bulkhead weaknesses. Convoy systems, previously dismissed as impractical, gain renewed urgency. Anti-submarine tactics evolve. Periscope detection methods improve. Depth charges enter standardized use. Technologically, U-boats acquire a fearsome reputation. The realization that a single, relatively small vessel, just 210 feet long, with a crew of 35, could sink an ocean liner nearly 800 feet long sends shockwaves through military planners worldwide, and the memory of the tragedy endures. In the years that follow, survivors share their accounts of those final, terrifying minutes in letters, interviews, and written testimonies. A woman recounts hearing a music box playing just moments before being thrown into the sea. A man recalls clinging tightly to a photograph of his daughter, a source of solace amidst the chaos. A sailor says he can still hear the sound of steel twisting, the death throes of a giant. The year 1915 fades into 1916, then 1917. Battles rage across Europe. The Somme, Verdun, Passchendaele. But the Lusitania remains a potent symbol, a grim warning of modern war's ruthlessness, a stark lesson in the human cost of strategic decisions, and a catalyst that ultimately helps reshape the world order. The wreck still lies off the Irish coast, resting on her starboard side, slowly being reclaimed by the sea. Divers report collapsed decks and scattered artifacts. Shoes, plates, a child's toy, fragments of letters never delivered. Memory deepens there, in the cold Atlantic, where one torpedo and a tragic chain of events helped propel nations toward a conflict that would define an entire century.